What's up, everybody? I am Jesse. We're at GameOverJesse. As all of you may know me, here with us is Daniel, Kayla, and Ilya. We just had the voice actor for Rivali, the Great Deku Tree, and Tiba on the podcast and the Zelda mailbag. We talked about some awesome stuff. He answered all of the questions, literally all of the questions sent in from everyone. But now we're going to be talking about the top 5 best things that we like about Zelda. Next, we're going to be talking about the top 5 worst things about Zelda. So if you see this video, don't think we're biased, that we're just talking about why we love it. We're also talking about why we hate it. So, starting with Ilya this time. What is the absolute best thing about it can be the entire Zelda series, or it could just be one specific thing. Like you could love
Ilya's eyes widening.
No, so you could love the fishing minigame. Like,
you could love Tingle and it will be part of the top 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Kula Limpa.
Or like you can love the fishing minigame in the Wind Waker. Or not Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time so much that is the best thing about the entire series. So it could be something about one specific series, or it could be something about the series as a whole.
The music.
The music?
The music.
Music. Because I am a firm believer that any and all forms of media, music can make or break a product.
Mm-hmm.
If your music does not fit what you're trying to portray, it takes you out of the moment. And when the music is spot on, it is freaking spot on. Wait, can you not hear me?
No,
we can.
No, I wanted to bring up, you recently had a video covering this in depth on your channel.
My last video.
So everyone,
covers that I liked.
Yeah.
Where can people find that?
You go to YouTube and you type in Ilya Rose, 2 words.
Yeah.
And you search for my face with elf ears. I think I'm just doing this, but the cover photo is me looking off to the side.
Yeah. Nice. All right, so tell us about the music.
Like I said, it can make or break something. These are movie examples, but I mean like Guardians of the Galaxy. They are known for their 80s music, and bringing classics back. I'm a huge fan of the music that was done for the Hunger Games. It was the perfect score, I think. There were flaws in the movie series, but the music was spot on. And for me, a game that has bad music will take me out of it. For example, I got on eBay Kirby's Epic Yarn. I tried so hard to play that game. 10 minutes in, I said, this is crap, and I couldn't play it. And I know I just offended a million people, but I couldn't because I hated the music, and it made me feel like I was a 2-year-old, which Kirby is for a younger audience, which is why I'm good at it. But I hated the music, and that's just my opinion. But for me, I feel like that's more of just an example of how it affects me. Because I hated the music and it felt more childish than normal, I couldn't play it. I know it's a good game, I just couldn't get through it.
It's a shame about that too, because Kirby music in general is bad.
What?
That game is an outlier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good answer. The music is good.
I think Ocarina of Time, it's hard to pick like which game has the best music, because I think of like Skyloft.
Jesse, you're cutting
Can't
out.
hear any of that.
I'm cutting out?
Yes.
Okay. Can sort of hear you.
Okay.
Sorry.
What?
What?
I don't
Yes.
know. So, can you hear me? Yes? No?
Yes.
Maybe? Okay. I was going to say it's hard to pick a specific Zelda game because all of the Zelda games have very different music that are all great in their own way. Like Spirit Tracks sounds amazing. The theme song from Spirit Tracks.
Really good.
Ballad of the Goddess from Skyward Sword. Breath of the Wild's theme songs, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, like Ordon Village, Skyloft, they're some of my favorite. But anyways, moving on, well, since that was your thing, Ilya, what game would you pick to be the best in terms of music? And then we can go to Kayla.
Because they all fit them so well. I feel like Ocarina of Time nailed the nostalgia. Spirit Tracks, I don't know what they nailed, but they nailed it because I love that soundtrack.
Skyward Sword really got me with their soundtrack.
Skyward Sword.
Except for there's one dungeon.
Epic.
I
Music.
think it's the second dungeon.
Earth Temple.
No, wait. It's one of the ones. The desert one, the Lanero mining facility.
Yeah.
Music starts in, and it's like I want to take it. It's like if I'm wearing headphones, but my headphones actually had sewing needles in them, and I put them on, and it just like stabbed me inside my ear. And then someone came and was like, "Is something wrong with your headphones?" They tried to lift it out, and then it's and I was like, "Oh!" And they're like, "That was funny," and they just kept doing it over and over again, and just stabbed my ears repeatedly. And I'm trying to focus on this game, and the puzzles are actually really good and unique, and the gust bellows is a really neat item and stuff. But all I can hear is a "ow, ow, 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 ow," because the song is so annoying. So
Oh my gosh.
I don't feel strongly too strongly
about.
about that. But the rest of the soundtrack is actually really good.
Yeah, they used a full orchestra, which was great. Breath of the Wild, despite
First
it
time
having
ever.
a significant lack of music, they still nailed the aesthetic and the atmosphere they were going for. But if I had to pick one, and it's music that usually teeters to make this my favorite overall Zelda game, would be Wind Waker, because I am a sucker for Celtic sounding music, but also Dragon Roost Island.
Yep.
I just
Magnifique.
love the music in that game, and it fits so freaking well. And again, more Celtic sounding, which,
All right.
melts me. So,
So, Kayla, Miss Tube, what do you love? Again, it can be a very specific thing about a very specific game, or it could be the genre as a whole.
Can Groose be my favorite?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can call up Mike, and you can thank him personally for Groose.
But in all seriousness, it would actually probably be the side quest. That's my favorite thing about it, because it's like there's always a main quest to do. You know what you're supposed to be doing. But with Zelda, it's like, okay, so I've done the main quest, a couple times at this point in my life. I'm going to wander around and see what else there is to do. Like, there's like so much endless opportunity with Zelda games. So you can't really get bored of doing them, because they fill the space with so many NPCs and so many things that can be done for them. And I guess, like, personally, one of my favorites would have been, like, Ocarina of Time. Like, I love the Happy Mask Salesman. I love running around and just, like, doing those stupid little tasks for him. So much fun.
So, would you say that's your favorite side quest from any Zelda game?
I mean,
So, just like we had
it's the one
Ilya
that-
pick her favorite
it's the one that
soundtrack,
comes
what
to
would
mind
be?
first, so I'm gonna say yes.
All right.
Because I can't think of any other ones right now.
Mr. Daniel.
I want to say the puzzles.
Puzzles.
I love to get into a room and you have to look at everything and be like, okay, what do I do? And you know, like, have to like kind of work around things, like especially those. And I know a lot of people hate them. Sliding ice block puzzles. That's my jam. I'm like really good at those. Okay,
I have a board game
I'm for
version
real
of the
so
thing
good at
like
those.
that. I love it.
And there's those puzzles in the Wind Waker when you get the private cabana. It's like the wall mounted one, and it's got the 9 tiles and the 1 empty one, and you got to slide the tiles around. I'm really good at those. I can count through like 12 of those in half an hour. I can I'm like for real. Like, I love that stuff. I love when you walk into somewhere and you have to look and like, okay, you're like, I gotta buckle down and really think about this, and it challenges me in a way that a lot of the other stuff doesn't, because it's like combat. Most combat in Zelda is not challenging. The Breath of the Wild is kind of an exception, where there are some challenging combat in that. Skyward Sword has very interesting combat because it's motion based and very precise. But most of the other 3D Zelda games, the combat is only interesting when they have like a specific thing. So, but the puzzles where you have to stop, you have to think about what you're doing and everything. I love that stuff. I'm all over it. So that's my answer. So who's next? Was that Jesse? Wait, Jesse?
Me, I am next.
Who's Jesse?
Right. Jessup.
Old Jessup.
Old Jessup. Yes. All right. So mine would be the graphics. So the cool thing about the 3D Zelda games, especially,
cut out. I heard
What?
none of that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I
Keep
didn't
cutting
hear
out.
either, either.
Maybe I'm having
Zero
a
of
problem
that came
where
through.
I try muting my mic whenever I'm not using it, so there's no background noise. But I'll just leave it on, I guess. So it doesn't,
Sure.
because it keeps cutting in and out once I turn it back on. But the graphics, especially with 3D Zelda games, they've covered. It's really one of the only gaming franchises that has ever done this, to where every single game looks different from the last. Because most games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, they always try to be as realistic as possible. Then there's games like Ni no Kuni, I guess, that try to capture like super duper cartoony art styles, and then like racing games always try to be realistic and stuff. Final Fantasy always has like the highly detailed anime look, but The Legend of Zelda captures almost everything. Like, I don't even know what to expect if Nintendo changed the art style again, because they've already covered everything. They've already had like a realistic art style with Twilight Princess. They had a cartoon art style with The Wind Waker. They had the manga art style, where they tried to make it look as close to the artwork as possible with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. They had Skyward Sword, which was based off of a painting art style.
Impressionist painting,
Yeah.
specifically.
And then they had Breath of the Wild, which was based off an anime art style. So it's
Although they said it's like open air style painting as well,
yeah.
but it is also very anime and very detailed. So
Yeah. So it's like, where could they even go next? Like, the only choice they have is to try to make like a fusion of the art styles they've had. Like, make it look like Breath of the Wild, but a little bit more realistic, or make it look realistic with like some sort of artistic style behind it. Like, they can only do so much, and they've already covered basically everything. Personally, I would like to see them do something similar to Final Fantasy, to where it would be the mix between the realistic Twilight Princess and the anime style of Breath of the Wild, where it looks like a really high detailed anime look. So yeah, like, I just like the art style, because every time it's something new, unique, and different. So yeah. And for the fifth thing, I guess we can come up with something together. So does anyone have any suggestions?
Gross.
Bruce?
I was going to
Bruce.
suggest the story.
The story?
Yeah.
Yeah, the stories are always great.
story, the
Probably
lore.
because, like, it's literally the last thing they think about, and yet they make them work after
Yeah.
they've already decided everything else.
That's true.
And they
And
still
so
make
much
work.
of it is like built into the world building, and it just like they don't put a story in without it fitting that specific type of world as well.
Yep.
And like the different maps or the different Hyrules that have appeared canonically are the same place mostly. Spirit Tracks kind of being a weird exception, but
Well, that's New Hyrule.
so different from each other, and the way that they build that, the story, it fits so well into those locales too.
All right. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree,
Yes.
because it leaves all of these empty spaces for us as well with their stories and such, that we as the fans just kind of, we fill it in.
That's true
Yeah.
as well.
They have enough story that, like, people that just play the games casually and don't go crazy about the lore, like, it's still good enough story for that, but then there's enough for us to play around with, those of us that, like, you know, to collect all 3 of the books and everything.
And what other franchise has a community like Zelda where people can make their living just talking about the lore and the stories of these games?
Yeah, Jesse.
Like, Jesse being an example. Like, there are people who do that with other franchises, but I don't think they have the staying power that Zelda has. And I think that speaks volumes to the stories that these games have had, as well. So that's where my ramble ends now.
yeah. So I was gonna say that, like you guys mentioned, the story really is, Nintendo said it many, many times, not just on Zelda, but most of their games, they focus on the story last, because first and foremost, they want to focus on the gameplay and making sure that it's fun. After they have all of the cool ideas that they want to do with the gameplay, they come up with a story to kind of have all the different gameplay mechanics make sense. So I think the only time that they focused on story first was with Skyward Sword. And it wasn't even they focused on story first with Skyward Sword, but they went into Skyward Sword with the intentions of making it an origin story. So while they didn't have the entire story planned out, they had an idea. They may have ideas in other times as well, but that was the only time that I know of where Al Numa in interviews mentioned that they had a huge focus on the story, because that was the origin story for the entire series, so they wanted to make sure that it at least made sense.
And it shows, because it's a really well done story.
Yeah. So I think the very first thing they worked on probably was getting the motion controls, but that because it's Nintendo, and they were on the Wii High. But yeah, no, absolutely, that it shows in that game because the story is woven into every scenario in that game, as opposed to other games where sometimes you kind of have a bit of story, then you go to one place, you do a bunch of stuff, whatever, and then you got a little bit of story there, and there's like these disconnects. But Skyward Sword is just like one long seamless story.
Yeah.
Yes.
As opposed to the famous meme, I got up and a tree told me to go save Hyrule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so that brings us to the very end of the top 5 best things about the Zelda series, or the top 5 things that we love about the Zelda series. So please go see our other video on the top 5 worst things about the Zelda series, or the top 5 things that we hate or would like to change. Don't know how I'm going to name it just yet about the Zelda series. So, are we ready to start that, everybody?
Yes.
We got through that
That's gonna be a
top 5.
separate video. Dang-a-rang.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, so we got through that really quick, actually. That was the
Right.
shortest thing that we had. It was like 10 or 15 minutes, so hopefully we can get through this one just as fast. All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse. I messed up. Sorry.